Alright everybody, welcome back to JT channel, and the title of the video is the title of the video, and obviously you can see what we're going to talk about. This is, just in case you can't tell, this is an AEW CM Punk shirt because it's the only one I own right now. But yeah, we're here to... I almost sound like I'm upset because over the last week there's been a lot going on involving CM Punk, and I've kind of just made comments on Facebook, quips on Facebook and stuff. Sorry, I took my allergy medicine late, so my eyes are watering. But I figured, since I'm doing more wrestling content, it'd be irresponsible of me not to talk about this at least a little bit. As much as I kind of don't want to, but at the same time, you know, I hope that my wrestling content continues to grow. So I feel like it's appropriate for me to start talking about this. So I'll run you through what we're talking about, and then I'll run you through my reactions and so on and so forth. As always, a warning for those of you who don't like swearing, because I'm probably going to swear. I don't know why I warn people, it's just in case. I don't know who watches my channel. I've got 25 subscribers now, and, you know, I love you all for being a part of this channel, part of the early days in case it ever blows up, but I always just want to make sure you guys know what's coming. So, I guess I should go all the way back to last August. There was a AEW that had an event called All in London, which was a throwback to their very first show. And basically, the opening match, or one of the opening match of the actual pay-per-view was CM Punk versus Samoa Joe, which was awesome. But on the pre-show, Jack Perry and Hook had a hardcore match. I can't remember what kind of match it was, like no disqualifications, some crap like that. And during it, there was this spot where Jack Perry threw Hook onto a window of, I think it was a limo as part of Jack Perry's heel turn. And he looked into the camera and said, "It's real glass, cry me a river." Now, this apparently was a shot at CM Punk, who, I don't know the whole story there, but he said something about wrestlers using real glass versus fake glass, something like that. And they got into a fight in the back, and it basically caused CM Punk to be released from AEW, which of course led to his big return, yada, yada, yada. Fast forward to this week. I'm going to go step by step here, because each thing lines up to another. First things first, AEW announced that the Young Bucks were going to air backstage all-in footage and talk about it. And everyone assumed it was the CM Punk Jack Perry backstage fight, but it wasn't confirmed right away. But all the internet wrestling outlets came out and said, yeah, it's going to be that footage. And then earlier this week, or late last week, something like that, Triple H, Paul Levesque, did an interview where he said something along the lines of, if you don't want to work the grind, if you don't want to be on the grind, I don't want to sign you anyway, or I'm happy I didn't sign you. He was more talking about, like, new wrestlers, people who were just coming in, and, like, how, you know, if you don't want this, then I don't want you. And by wanting this, he meant, you know, the WWE grind, which back in the day was like 300 days a year. I don't think it's that much now, but it's a lot more consistent or constant than AEW, New Japan, or any other major company. That's just how WWE is. But people thought he was talking about Will Ospreay, which is dumb, but that's what people thought. So we come to this week. We get to AEW. AEW, sure enough, shows the backstage footage. If you haven't seen it, it kind of looks like Punk walks up to Jack Perry. Neither one of them, both their body languages seem chill, but it looks like Jack Perry says something that pisses CM Punk off. I don't know if he was easily offended or whatever. I don't play that shit over here. But he said something that clearly upset Punk. Who shoved Perry and put him in a headlock, exactly like he said he did. Joe came over. Everybody came over to break it up. Tony Khan was freaking out, running around like a crazy person. And then the Young Bucks tried to tie this into their feud with FTR, because FTR are friends with Punk. Then FTR came out and they said something about shaving each other's backs, which was a callback to something they did on Raw. And then Will Ospreay did an interview where he brought up the grind comment and said, I'm almost embarrassed to even repeat this, but he said, that's rich, something along the lines of, because I don't have the exact quote written down, but he said, that's rich coming from a guy who's only popular for grinding on the boss's daughter. Now, everyone has their opinion on all this. And I guess, like I said, okay, 5.5 minutes in, I guess it's my turn to give my opinion. I don't think Triple H was talking about Will Ospreay. And if he was, that's kind of shitty. I'm just being honest. Will Ospreay is one of the greatest wrestlers in the entire world. I think Ospreay chose AEW because that's where, like, his style of wrestling potentially could be more appreciated. WWE's doing great with it. If they hired Will Ospreay, he'd probably be flying high. But I don't think it was because of the grind. And I still don't think Triple H was talking about Will Ospreay. I think he was talking about people that are just starting off their career. I have a really good friend, who I'm not going to shout out due to the simple fact that none of you would know who he is. But he wrestles here locally. I trained with him, and he wrestles as often as he can, trains as often as he can. He's always on the grind, and that's what Triple H was talking about. So, Triple H, hire my friend. No. But, Triple H just, this is AEW and WWE taking small shots. I don't mind that. I've never minded that. Little jokes here and there are fine. Like Michael Cole saying that CM Punk drives the internet marks crazy. Stuff like that. But when we got to AEW, airing the All-In footage, Will Ospreay's little comment, and the show in general, it didn't feel like AEW. And I didn't watch Dynamite Wednesday. I had to watch replays. And that was kind of my choice. I could have watched Dynamite, but I didn't want to watch that footage. I watched it later on because, of course, people are posting it left, right, and center. But when I went back and rewatched everything, it felt like no matter what happened before the footage and what happened after the footage, nobody cared. Nobody cared about AEW Dynamite. All they cared about was the All-In footage. When AEW Dynamite was over, people were not talking about the Young Bucks versus FTR. The two of the greatest tag teams, one of the best tag team rivalries ever. Don't at me. I'm telling you right now. And they're going to have a ladder match now, too. Nobody was talking about Will Ospreay or Will Ospreay's upcoming dream match with Bryan Danielson. Nobody was even talking about how Samoa Joe and Dustin Rhodes kind of had a banger. All anyone was talking about was CM Punk, Triple H, Cody Rhodes, and Roman Reigns. Because for some reason, the week after WrestleMania, Tony Khan decided to throw everything at the wall, and it doesn't make any sense to me. To give you some context, I know I sound like I'm just dogging on AEW, but I'm wearing a CM Punk shirt from AEW because from 2019 to 2022, they were my favorite company. And therefore, there were several reasons why AEW was my favorite company. By the way, sorry about all the cuts. I have to pause this every now and then now that I can. They were different from WWE, especially the first 2 years. Even, they started in 2019 and then the pandemic hit. And they still felt different from WWE. And they were so different to me that they became my favorite company pretty much instantly. And I still love AEW now. In 2023, they were still fine, but WWE found their footing again. They found that it factor that they used to have, and now instead of AEW and WWE being so incredibly different, which they still are, they had enough of the qualities that I liked to where WWE is actually better. And there are some people that are screaming that AEW was never good. They're wrong. But especially last year, WWE really took over, in my opinion. And so did Impact Wrestling. Now they're TNA again. This year, AEW started, and this is what I posted on Facebook, AEW started to feel like they were going back to the old days. And Tony Khan even said that earlier this year, in January. He's like, we're going to go back to the rankings. We're going to do everything we can to make AEW feel like it used to. We know we made a mistake. We started going the wrong way. Excuse me. And they started to. And it felt really cool to watch, watching them go back to what they were good at, you know, the ranking systems, and they were good at being like the good era of WCW mixed with a little bit of Attitude Era WWE, and it was awesome. And for the like January, February, and even some of March, I really felt that AEW was heading back that direction. And then they pulled this crap. Personally, it was all bad. It was all a bad idea, every bit of it. Because like I said earlier, nobody was talking about anything in AEW. They were all talking about WWE superstars, especially CM Punk. There's nothing wrong with Samoa Joe versus Dustin Rhodes, but they would not have done that match if Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns hadn't just happened. Like, literally, a Samoan named Joe taking on a Rhodes brother. And it's fine. Again, you can say that's not why they did it, but it's literally why they did it. Dustin made the challenge over WrestleMania weekend. I mean, come on. That's like the bottom problem. That's way down here. Then you move on to the Will Ospreay comment. And I don't mind WWE and AEW taking shots. I mentioned that already. Will Ospreay still could have made a comment about Triple H. He could have been like, talking about how he doesn't need to be on the grind because he's the greatest wrestler in the world. And that's what AEW houses, is the greatest wrestlers in the world. He could have said something like that. But instead, he turned into a 17-year-old kid watching 1998 WWF and went, LOL, you slept with the boss's daughter. It's 2024. You can do better than that. I have seen AEW and WWE do better at their insults. So it's clear, and I don't think that was Will Ospreay. As much as I love Tony Khan, I'm positive that was a Tony Khan comment. He told Will Ospreay to go out there and make that comment. And there's also rumors that it was Tony Khan's idea to air the footage and that the Bucks weren't even okay with it. Now, rumors, I'm not here to spread rumors. I'm telling you what I have read over the last few days, the last week or so. And it is what it is either way. I think, personally, that it was stupid. Just plain stupid. Because you have this huge pay-per-view coming up that I'm ecstatic for, with one of the greatest matches of all time, 2, maybe even 3 of the greatest matches of all time already set, with Danielson Ospreay. You got Strickland Joe. You got I already mentioned it, FTR and the Young Bucks in a ladder match. FTR's they're not ladder match specialists, but that match is going to rule. And there's other really good matches on the card. I don't have them all in my head right now. I know there's a 6-man tag. You got Julia Hart and Willow. You got, I just had it. It's gone now. But the card does look really good. Oh, the women's title match. Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm. And some of those matches, you can argue the title should change hands. I'm struggling. All the pausing is me dealing with her. So, so the pay-per-view looks really good. Next week has some pretty good matches on the show. I think I have to look for sure, see what there are. But you have to reestablish everything because no one is talking about your pay-per-view. Everyone is talking about CM Punk. Everyone's talking, no matter if they say he's wrong or right. If you're on social media or you're in my comments or whatever and you're screaming about how CM Punk is a bitch or a baby or it was his fault, cool. You're still talking about CM Punk. You're not talking about how the Young Bucks have done this amazing character overturn with the EVP gimmick, and it's ruled. You're not talking about how they're going to have a match with FTR, a ladder match with FTR. That's probably going to be one of the greatest tag team matches we're going to see all year, with just 2 teams in it. You're not talking about Will Ospreay. You're talking about his comment about Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. You're talking more about them than you are about him. And if I was Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson, I'd be pissed. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again, that match could main event the pay-per-view and nobody would bat an eye. Nobody would blink. Everyone would be like, yeah, that makes sense. It's the greatest of all time versus the greatest of all time. Now, the phrase GOAT has kind of lost meaning over the last few years, but it's 2 of the greatest of all time for sure going one-on-one. And you could easily put that in the main event, but I do think Joe and Strickland will. That's a different video for a different day. So, the super short, or the long and short of it here, I think it was a really bad idea. This is a kind of a TLDR part of the video. I probably should have started at the beginning because we're almost 15 minutes in. But I wanted to give you my full-fledged thoughts on everything. But all of it was a bad idea. None of it went over the way that Tony Khan, most likely Tony Khan, thought it would. It just made everyone talk about CM Punk and not AEW. And on top of that, I didn't even mention this, at New Japan Pro Wrestling's Riot, Windy City Riot, Jack Perry came out with the 4-star Chicago flag that CM Punk used to have and Cry Me a River on his shirt. And again, nobody was talking about how Jack Perry came out looking cool or had a great match, which he did. They were talking about how he was mocking CM Punk, whether you liked it or not. So I'm hoping that, tomorrow is Monday. It's a brand new week. I'm hoping that everybody just kind of moves along. I am kind of hoping Drew McIntyre has something shitty to say about Punk, because that would be awesome. But, and that's fine. I want to make that clear. Little pot shots are okay. But immature, you slept with the boss's daughter, do better. And then if you're not sure how bad the stuff went over with all of this, just look at the thumbnail to this video. It's going to be the picture of Tony Schiavone's face. It is the exact same face he made during Bash at the Beach 2000, where they were not just blurring the lines, they were getting rid of the lines entirely with reality and pro wrestling. And it was really, really bad. It's kind of what killed WCW. So, not saying it's going to kill AEW. You'll never hear me say that. I think AEW is going to ride into the sunset not into the sunset, but they're going to be here for a while, a lot longer than people think. People were saying AEW is going to be dead in 5 years, 5 years ago. So, but that's it. Those are my 2 cents, whatever you want to call it, on the CM Punk situation. And as always, I will always love CM Punk. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I used him as an example of someone I want to be like when I was training to pro wrestle. Whatever. But that's it. Look out on the channel for plenty more wrestling videos, and not just wrestling videos. Trust me, there's a lot coming. But until then, this is JT Channel. I am JT, and I'll see you next time.